I think back often of when I was in high school, the type of student I was, and I guess it's best summed up that I was a very, very good example of a bad example when it came to schoolwork. And fortunately for me, my career, my path after that changed quite a bit. I put on a uniform shortly after high school. I spent a couple of years overseas as a soldier. And I wore 2 different police department uniforms in the few years following that. And then for many years in the fire department, I wore several different uniforms as well. So on 9/11, when that unexpected day happened, I was as prepared as I could be. I had to rely on almost 40 years of uniform service, and I would do my best to do whatever I could. When I witnessed those events, I realized that every first responder would be expected to respond to the World Trade Center to help, and I did. I had my son drive me so that I could catch the ferry in Staten Island. My own son, who had worked in Cantor Fitzgerald from '93 to the year 2000 and left in the year 2000, which I was not thrilled about, but certainly that day I was overjoyed. I came in by ferry. I witnessed the towers collapsed. I had to force my way off the ferry. So many people were trying to get on the ferry. And I made my way up to the World Trade Center. Later on that day, I realized I had better call home. Sometime in the afternoon, I had no cell phone service. I found a hardwired phone in a bank on Broadway. I called home. I got my wife, who had been at work in Lower Manhattan, along with some other members of my family, my sons-in-law and whatever. She told me that she was okay. She had to fight away on a ferry to get home, that my sons-in-law were all right. I said, thank God we're all okay. She goes, not so quickly. She said, your 2 nephews, they're both on duty today. They're both unaccounted for. They're missing. Firefighters. I said, well, don't worry. There's reports of a lot of people removed, a lot of people in hospitals, removed by boat, whatever. I said, I'll stay here till I can find something out. I promise you. Well, I stayed for 6 days before I went home. I didn't go home till the evening of the 16th. And during those 6 days, I witnessed many things that I wouldn't have expected to see. I witnessed firefighter fathers looking for firefighter sons. I would be approached by a police officer. A woman in a windbreaker appeared to be a detective calling for my attention one night from the other side of the barriers. She's asking me for my telephone number. I never had a woman in my life ask me for my telephone number. That was the first time. Of course, I gave it to her. She said, does your wife know you're all right? I said, I've been in touch. My wife knows I'm all right. She goes, what's your number? So I gave it to her. She dials the phone. She's talking. She hands me the phone. I talk to my wife. I give my phone back to the police officer. She talks to my wife. She closes it. She calls me over. I said, what is it? I thought she was going to whisper in my ear. She put her hand on the back of my head and she kissed me on the lips and she said, your wife told me to give you a kiss goodnight and be careful. I certainly didn't expect that. Maybe the next night or so, the 3rd or 4th night, I had somebody tugging on my coat. There's a lot of activity going on. I give him kind of my attention. I'm not quite getting it. I'm getting a little annoyed or frustrated, I guess, maybe a little cranky, and I'm half turning around and he's trying to talk to me and I'm not getting it, and I realize he can't speak English. He's speaking Spanish. He turns around, he shows me his back. He's wearing an orange jumpsuit. On the back of the jumpsuit it says Mexico City Fire Department or Mexico City Fire Rescue. I don't remember exactly. And he leans over and he says to me, Jefe, Chief, I drove 56 hours to get here. Please put me to work. Give me something to do. So I did. Well, on the 6th day, finally, my feet were swollen. I couldn't get my boots off. I had to cut the back of them to get my feet out. Washed my clothes in a nearby firehouse. I made my way home. I got my wife and I went to my nephew's house to try to console my niece and her 3 young children. I would work at the site for the next 2 months. Then I had an administrative job nearby. I returned many more times on weekends and the evenings to do whatever I could at the site. By the time June of 2002 came, I figured I had just about done everything, or didn't expect that there was much that I hadn't seen or done. And I got this unexpected phone call from the high school of economics and finance. They were having a graduation ceremony. They wanted a fire department presence. They were proud of their students for evacuating that day with all going on. And they thought it only fitting that a fire department presence would be helpful. So I said, sure, I could get you a fire truck. I said, I'll tell you what, I can probably even get an honor guard. I said, I can even do better than that. I don't like office work. I said, I'm even going to go myself. I'll put on my uniform and I'll be there. They said, oh, you're going to love it. Mayor Bloomberg's the keynote speaker. It's going to be in Trinity Church. I said, great. Well, about 2 days before the event, I got this call, Mayor Bloomberg can't make it. Can you guys give us a guest speaker? So I said, sure, I got a big boss, big chief in charge of Division I, Lower Manhattan, up to Midtown Manhattan. I'll ask him. So I asked the big chief. He said, you're going to be the speaker. I said, me, Edward? I said, you know, some of the words that slip out of my mouth, I don't know if I can be a speaker. He said, oh, you got it. So for 2 days, I had to prepare. I did give it a lot of thought. I did stay up at night. I stayed up all night, one night. Maybe I had 8 pages of legal pad, handwritten notes. And I really tried to choose a topic that I thought I could honestly give to these young people. I gave it a lot of thought for somebody of my ability. And the thought that I did come up with when I got up there, I told them how important it was that to know that people are going to judge you, and they're going to judge you on what's expected of you. I said, when I was in high school, I didn't really think or probably care too much about what people thought of me, or expected of me, I should say. I said, but you should really give it a lot of thought. I said, that's how you're going to be judged. I said, you know those people that went to work in World Trade Centers on 9/11, they went to work because their families depended on them. They expected them to go to work and to earn a living and to provide for them. I said, when those poor people needed help, they expected the first responders to come. And the first responders did come, and they did what was expected of them. I said they needed help, and the way to spell help that day, the 4-letter word help was P-A-P-D, N-Y-P-D, F-D-N-Y. I said, and that was the best way to spell it that way. And I kind of brought that with me. I think since that day, I was never more proud to be in my uniform than in a pulpit of Trinity Church. And since that day, I'll tell you the truth, I'm like Tick-Tock the crocodile in Peter Pan. That clock inside of me is ticking, and I know for whatever time I got left, that I'm going to do what I can do. And I do my best to do as much volunteer work as I can. And I think it's important to remember that, we all take care of ourselves, but it's important to remember that we have to take care of each other. Thank you.